If you are a home buyer or a home seller, these effing building inspections are driving consumers crazy. A disturbing 16%, that's 1 out of 6, house transactions are just falling apart. People search for a house for 18 months. We have 7 failed offers, and finally we secure a house for your future. Then we get back a whopping 120 pages of inspection results. And trying to get 2 or even 4 adults in today's world to cooperate with each other on inspection repairs has just become a daunting task. Buyers, with the help of their internet, assemble all of their thoughts on why they think they deserve $40,000 in concessions. Sellers, with the help of their internet, counter-respond with why their house is perfect and the buyer's concerns are wrong. Fear and doubt takes over, and the gap between information and knowledge continues to grow. After working through this process over 2,000 times, I have some thoughts to share. And those thoughts are coming at you. In 3, 2, 1, let's go! So you're trying to buy a house and finally you get one under contract. You go to the inspections and sometimes 3 or 5 or 7 different inspectors are talking to you at the same time with words that you just don't hear every day. The building inspector, the termite inspector, radon, mold, sewer, pool, septic, well, roof, foundation, you get the point. So much information is coming at you so fast. Now imagine if there was a way to break them down into categories so you could establish your priorities and just focus on those. Well, it just so happens that that is the exact purpose of this video. The green category A up here is reserved for true defects, things which are broken. The blue category B down here is for safety items or things that are out of code. This orange category C up here is for cosmetic things or things that just don't look right. And then the red category D down here is for periodic maintenance items. So now let's break down 32 common building inspection issues into these 4 specific categories. Why? It just makes it easier to process and easier to take the next steps. This first one is a bullet hole stuck in the roof. This is clearly a category A defect. Most sellers would repair this, and it also brings up the question of if you are in the wrong subdivision or not. The second one is an out-of-code issue to where there are missing straps. You see the new stair stringers? Usually there's metal straps there. This can be a safety item. Most sellers would be willing to fix this as well. The next one are these cosmetic nail pops along the ceiling. See the blue arrows there? These are typically considered cosmetic. Usually sellers will not repair that ceiling and repaint the whole thing. This next one is a tree that is actually touching the roof. The building inspectors, for some reason, freak out when vegetation, trees, or bushes touch the house. However, most sellers would say, nope, that's periodic maintenance, that's category D. Every couple years, trim back your trees. Next one is a joist space where I found termites and spiders and even some leaking under the door threshold back there. This is a nasty image, you guys. This is clearly category A. These are defects that need to be fixed. Here we have, you see the red arrows? Here we have a disconnected flue vent in the attic. This is a safety issue. Carbon monoxide is getting into the attic space. Most sellers would say, we did not know about that, and we are going to have that fixed. This next one is a broken or fogged window seal, and you just see where it looks like they poured milk down between the 2 panes of glass. This is ugly, usually for doors. Sellers will consider replacing it, but for not all of the windows, we don't always get those replaced. This next one is a missing insulation from all the air conditioner, the Freon or Puron lines. This is typically a periodic maintenance items. Very seldom would sellers go and get the $3 piece of foam and put that on there to fix this one. This next one is electrical hot charring in the panel. It is clearly a Category A defect, and most sellers would strongly consider having this repaired. Here we have a loose handrail that is 10 feet high on a deck. You have a party, one of your guests leans against the handrail. This could be considered a very strong safety item. Most sellers would consider putting some bolts in this. This next one is loose, low voltage wiring in the lower level. It is ugly, but it is considered cosmetic, and usually sellers would not repair this type of item. Here we have prior plumbing leak that is still dirty. This is a plumbing area that was not wet when we checked it. It looked like Uncle Fred came over years ago and said, I'm going to put me some plumbing putty on that. But it was not leaking at the time. This would be considered a periodic maintenance thing to just check it as you continue to be the owner. This next one is a cast iron plumbing stack with barnacles. You see the orange circles? Those were barnacles. Sometimes sellers will sand them off and say, okay, everything is good. This is clearly reflective of a leak, and most sellers would fix this also. Here we have an orange extension cord hanging down in the garage. This is an out of code or a safety item because if the garage door opener gets disconnected and there's a fire in the garage, somebody could get trapped in there. This next one is dirty mechanical equipment. Just because something is dirty and it's nasty and it's all grungy, whether it's outside or in the basement, doesn't mean that it's broken. When we ask the sellers for a new $6,000 air conditioner because their air conditioner is outside and it's dirty, we don't get very far. Here is a periodic maintenance item. See these wood windows that need some exterior painting? I used to love wood windows, but now seeing them 20 and 30 years later, this is a cosmetic item that very seldom will sellers repaint those windows for us. So here we have some wet roof sheathing on the attic side. The roof shingles on the outside look great. The inspector went inside. The roof is clearly failing. This is a Category A defect, and almost all sellers would say, yes, that's something we need to fix. This next one is a sidewalk or driveway trip hazard. You see the yellow area? Sometimes with sidewalks or driveways, they'll go up or down. Your friends can trip on them. Maybe it's night, they don't see it. It is a safety item. It is out of code. When we ask sellers to fix it, they seldom say yes to this one. My broken fence was caused by a tree. Here's something that's cosmetic. Usually sellers will not go order a new section of fence and just replace it out of the goodness of their own hearts. Here we have dirty cold air return vents, and usually dirty windows go along with this. We notice at the inspection there's a lot of dirty things. These are considered periodic maintenance things. Sellers usually will not clean those for us. This next one is a furnace with a cracked heat exchanger. See those orange areas? Those are areas where there are cracks. The carbon monoxide comes out of the furnace into the breathing air. This is a Category A defect, and most sellers will be like, all right, we're gonna get you a new furnace. Here is one where there is no electrical GFI right next to a wet sink. This is an out of code issue. This is a safety item. Most sellers also would consider this to be something they need to get fixed. All right, here we I said my squeaky floor is totally screwed. You see all these screws in here? This is a cosmetic defect. It is something that if we ask the sellers to sand all that down and fill in all of those nail holes, they'll usually say that's something that we get to do after closing. Here we have an exterior fascia and soffit trim paint issue around that gutter up there. Just over the years, it's taken on some water. It needs to be caulked and repainted. This is a periodic maintenance item. Very few sellers would just go ahead and fix this one for us. Here we have a wet floor that's under a sliding glass door. The moisture meter clearly showed the leak was active. This is a Category A defect, and most sellers would say, let's have that repaired. This next one are window balancers or broken cords. See the blue cords that are broken? This is considered a safety item because when the windows are up and there's little fingers or there's little heads that can get in there, the windows can suddenly close and that can become dangerous. When I ask sellers to fix these things because they're unsafe, I get about a 50-50 response on whether or not they will or not. This next one is a fragile saddle valve. In the 90s and 2000s, it was very common to hook up your ice maker line to your water line in the basement with this saddle valve. They do leak over time. So this is a cosmetic thing that just doesn't look right, but because there is no defect, usually a seller will not fix this for us. This next one is more than 8 inches of attic insulation. Sometimes buyers want 10 inches or they want 12 inches of extra insulation to get to R38 or R50 up in the attic. This is considered a periodic maintenance item, and it would be considered a home improvement and not repairing a defect. Lastly, here we have double lugging in the electric panel. You see the multiple white circuits that are going under those screws? It creates a situation where there can be overheating and sparking, and it can be a fire hazard. This is a Class A, a Category A defect, and most sellers would repair this one. Missing graspable rail over the stairs. See the red arrow there? That handrail may have been cool in the 80s or the 90s, but now the code says it has to be graspable where you can wrap your hand around it, okay? We could ask for this one, but it is seldom that a seller would say, oh yes, let me just put up a new handrail for you. This one is carpet seams or bulging carpet. At the inspections, sometimes we notice these Category C cosmetic things. Very seldom will a seller repair those carpet items for you. This last one is an air conditioner that is deep in the forest. There's a bunch of bushes and trees around it. This would also be considered a periodic maintenance item, and it is something that every 2 years as a homeowner, hopefully you would go clear out those weeds and things around from the air conditioner. Now I want to look at this from a consumer's perspective. The buyer says, hey Mark, if I'm going to spend $400,000 for that house, it better be right, which I can understand. And then the seller says, you know, it was like that 9 years ago when I moved in. It's never been a problem, and I'm not fixing it. And I can understand some of that too. So each party then designs the experiment around the conclusion that they want, and they each dive to their own internet to provide verifiable proof that their perspective is absolute. Confusion and anger and fear and doubt set in, and the buyers and sellers both tell me, Mark, I'm convinced more than ever that we are being screwed here. Some buyers think that an inspection is just a free grab bag of home improvements, which it is not. While some sellers have real confirmed problems with their house, but that result can't occur because the sellers and their homes represent perfection. These inspections can be a real big challenge, but if you truly want a house for your future, then this can be the best real estate advice you will hear this entire month. If you walk into this inspection process with a win-lose, I'm going to take complete advantage of the other side, then $1,200 in inspection costs, and 7 days later, you will have a dead transaction. But when you replace fear and doubt with trust and confidence, then the keys to your home will soon be in your hands. This has been Mark Scheller. Thanking you for watching.